Hi, welcome everybody. And yeah, as part of National Carers Week, this is an opportunity for us to revisit a campaign that launched a year ago that Inside Housing supported and backed. And this is the Harry's Pledge campaign, really important and yeah, the really vital campaign that we launched a year ago during National Carers Week. And it's named after six-year-old Harry Charlesworth, who's got quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And yeah, we've been working with Harry's family, and we'll be speaking very shortly to Hayley Charlesworth. So welcome, Hayley, good morning. And finding out a little bit more about the campaign, how it's gone over the last year, and really why it's important. So yeah, a number of things to talk about and get through this morning. Now backed, I hear the latest this morning is we're now backed by 48 organisations in the housing sector, and this is absolutely crucial. The aim of the campaign was to get housing associations, councils and housing associations on board and making changes to their own policies and procedures to really make a difference for carers. And just before we speak to Hayley, a quick reminder about what that campaign was aiming to achieve. So it had four real things that people were signing up to, four real aims. And that was to make policies carer friendly with flexible working so people can fit paid work around caring. That was aim number one. Make offices and community spaces as accessible as possible, for example, by installing changing places toilets. Building more fully accessible homes and routinely and considering accessibility in new builds and general needs housing, and working to promote care as a valued career choice and lobbying for changes in pay and rewards. So it was a varied series of aims that people were signing up to. And like I say, I think the latest this morning is we've got 48 organisations signed up already, which is absolutely fantastic news for the first year of the campaign. And this is really an opportunity, hopefully, for us to kick on. So yeah, welcome, Hayley. Good to have you here this morning. Good to see you again. And yeah, I don't know whether you can perhaps kick off just by talking us through the history to this, so why we started the campaign, how it came about, and why it's important. So just talk us through the background a little bit, if that's okay.
Okay, so you briefly mentioned my son Harry. I've got a 6-year-old son. He's got quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And unfortunately, he has got very significant needs. I'm a carer for my son, and after a number of years, making sure that we had the access to services that we need and we had the support that we needed, which wasn't easy. Everything's been a bit of a fight, to be honest. I decided that I wanted to do something to help other families, and so I set up Harry's Pals. And with Harry's Pals, I decided to campaign to make a change for carers and disabled people. And that's gone on to eventually inspire Harry's Pledge, which is all about supporting disabled people and their families. So it's making a real difference to families like mine. So it's an amazing legacy for Harry. And I've just been blown away by the support that we've had. 48 organisations have now signed up to one of the commitments of, or maybe more of the commitments of Harry's Pledge. And each of these commitments makes such a massive difference to families like mine, from being able to go to work to being able to access the homes that they're living in or their family members are living in. And to to supporting mental health. It's been amazing, the support that we've received. So yes, Harry's Pals has inspired by Harry, an amazing little boy, to to go on and have 48 housing associations and local authority has been amazing.
Thanks, Hayley, and just talk us through how the last year's been for both in terms of the campaign, and we'll come to that a little bit in a few moments' time. But also for the family, how's the last year been for you all?
I think for everybody, it's been really hard. For carers, it's been incredibly difficult. For a lot of the year, we didn't have access to usual support, such as you know, just normal things like hospital appointments we couldn't go to. Harry wasn't able to go to school for a long time. We wasn't able to have appointments such as, you know, Harry having his splints fitted, and then we weren't able to get care in the home as well. So it means that as parents and carers, we've not had the support that we've needed. So from a physically it's been really hard, but also emotionally it's been really tough as well. You know, the past 15 months have been really difficult, and I think it's not just me, I think it's all carers have really struggled, and we haven't had the support that we've needed. So to be able to work with Harry's Pledge and see differences, and seeing that organisations are committing to looking after their carers is, you know, has really sort of cheered me up along the way.
That's fantastic to hear, and let's talk about I mean, in terms of those pledges and why they're important and why they've had an impact, I guess, so far. I mean, in terms of perhaps the first pledge, that kind of making policies carer friendly, more flexible working, so people can fit paid work around caring. I mean, I know this is an issue that we've talked about in the past, but just talk me through why that's been so important as part of the pledge there. This thinking about your work-based policies, and so yeah, let's just talk a little bit about that first pledge, if that's okay.
Okay. This commitment as part of Harry's Pledge is particularly important to me. After I had Harry, I've actually got a background in marketing. I tried to go back to work, and I was told that you've got full-time hours, 9 to 5, or that's it. So I think over the past sort of 15 months, we've all realised that flexible at working hours is doable. And as a result of being told that, you know, it's full-time or nothing, unfortunately I couldn't go back to work. So yeah, it's really important that employers are doing as much as they can to support their working carers. Sorry, not their working carers, they're unpaid carers. And there is so many carers within every workplace. 1 in 7 people will be a carer at some point in their lifetime, and 1 in 9 of any workforce is a carer. And sadly, because a lot of these carers aren't getting the support that they need, such as flexible working hours, emotional, practical support within their workplace, they're having to leave. And that equates to 250,000, according to Carers UK, 250,000 people leaving work every year in the UK. So we're losing a lot of very valuable and experienced members of staff, which I just find... you know, and I find that really difficult, because I do think, like I said, the past 15 months has shown us that, you know, remote working, flexible hours, it's all doable. So I've been actually going into organisations and conducting audits to work with members of the HR team, and encouraging carers to come forwards, because there's barriers in itself to encouraging carers to come forwards, and discuss what it's like working for the organisations, what's working well, where they could do with some extra support. And from that, I've been putting together a full report on what a difference the organisation could make to become more carer friendly.
And just talk us through that a little bit more in terms of that interaction with organisations, what you've been finding out. I mean, it's I know from some of the housing associations I've spoken to who've been involved and signed up to the pledge, that once they started to look, if you like, once they started to ask staff, they found out they do have a number with unpaid caring responsibilities outside of work, and more than they thought, more than they realised. So have kind of been adjusting their kind of policies and practices as a result of that. But yeah, what have you been finding, and what's the response been like from organisations?
Yeah, I mentioned barriers. There's a number of different things. I think a lot of people that are actually carers might not actually identify themselves as carers. They might just think, well, I'm looking after my elderly mother and father, or I'm looking after my child, and that's my role as son or daughter or parent. So it's making sure that people are actually aware of what a carer is. And I've found that a lot of organisations aren't able to identify who their carers are, because one, they might not know that, or realise that they're actually a carer, and two, they might be hesitant about coming forward for extra support.
And then when people have been approaching you, I mean, have they been saying that they're actually reluctant to, or they have been reluctant to talk about that at work? Is that what you're saying, that they felt like in the absence of any kind of official policy that might disadvantage them in some way?
Well, definitely. I think that they might think that if they've got the same level of experience as somebody else, same skill set, that it might put them at a disadvantage, because the employer might think, well, you're going to be having lots of time off for appointments. And so yes, I think that is, and I think it's about making sure that the organisation changes the culture, so that anybody coming into work for that organisation or working at that organisation knows it's a safe environment to say, I'm a carer, and that the organisation promotes how important it is, caring as a career, and the fact that it does support carers. Because like I said, a huge amount of any organisation's staff, especially larger organisations, are going to be carers. So we need to look after them and keep them in their roles.
And what are your feelings about how that's gone down? So are you you've gone in, you've talked to organisations, you've kind of audited how they're doing. Are you getting the impression that there's a real willingness to change as a result? So are people changing their policies and practices? And I appreciate that might be the kind of next step. So just get any insight you've got into how you feel people are reacting to that kind of interaction.
I think it's been amazing. I think I've been working with a number of organisations, and from my recommendations, they've gone on and made a lot of changes, carers policies that they've put in place, and I just know what a huge difference it's going to make. And I think it's the way forwards. I think if anything, the past 15 months has taught us how important carers are. We all, in the very early stages of coronavirus, we all stood on our doorsteps and clapped for carers, but organisations now are putting their hands up and saying, we don't just want to clap, we actually want to take some action. So they're coming to me, and we're working together on these audits, so I can work with the carers within the organisation, so that we're able to provide recommendations and a plan to move forwards, and keep people in employment, and have very happy staff, happy staff members.
Yeah, really, really great to hear. And I think we'll move on to a couple of the other recommendations as well. The accessible housing, so building more fully accessible housing, we'll be covering it in a separate article this week on Inside Housing, looking at an organisation that has changed its policies to look at building more. But I mean, we talked a little bit before this conversation earlier this week about the making offices and community spaces as accessible as possible. The example given, I think, it was the changing places toilets. But yeah, just give so we talked about the staff and with caring responsibilities, but this idea about organisations being more accessible. How's that been going, and what are you wanting to see, and what have you been seeing?
Changing places toilets. I can't stress how important it is to families like mine to be able to have the freedom to go somewhere and not worry that we're going to have to come back early because perhaps your child or your elderly relatives need changing. and there's nowhere to do it in a dignified and safe manner. So changing places toilets can make the difference between staying in and actually being able to enjoy some freedom. So access to changing places toilets is so important. They're very few and far between. And also just a general level of accessibility if you're working for an organisation, making sure that you can actually get through the door. It's not rocket science, but I think through Harry's Pledge changes are being made, and I hope that they continue. And anyone thinking about taking on Harry's Pledge or working with Harry's Pledge just really knows the importance of changing places toilets and what a life changer they can be in terms of families being able to have more freedom.
Really powerful stuff, and I think actually if you're listening today, there's good reason to get in touch and find out more about that if that's not on your radar currently. I would also just I know Carers Week is obviously this isn't the central focus, but that last pledge about working to promote care as a value career choice as well, and I guess the value that organisations kind of demonstrate that they place on caring in that way. Just wanted to touch on that. Why that's part of the kind of four pledges, and again whether you're hopeful of seeing any change in that area.
Yes, that's about supporting working carers. So, like I said, the past 15 months has taught us how important carers are. How, I don't think we wouldn't have got through this pandemic without them. We are, carers are unsung heroes, basically, and we need to do more to support them, to encourage more people to become carers, and to basically to reward that as a career. So this area of the pledge is really important, because without carers, a lot of us wouldn't be able to work in the roles that we are, or very, very important.
Thanks very much, Hayley, and that's definitely an area that we'll be revisiting and looking at in Inside Housing this year. And I just wanted to round off. I mean, we're a year in, we're kind of lots of activity this week. What are your hopes moving forwards as well? So what would you like to see for the next stage of the campaign over the next kind of next year, the next few months?
I'd like to see action. Lots of organisations have committed to the pledge, so it would be really nice to find out how people are getting on, sharing stories. What have they been up to? Have you installed a changing places toilets? Have you had a look at your carers policy? If anybody is interested in me conducting an audit, I'd love to speak to you. So please get in touch. I'd just like to see more action, but overall, the support has been amazing, and I can't thank organisations for getting involved, and it's just been incredible. Through Harry's Pals, one of my main the main objective really was to make a difference to disabled people and carers, and I really feel like through Harry's Pledge we're doing that. And so big thanks. But it would be great to hear stories about what you've been doing and which commitments you've been taking on, and what that's meant for your organisation.
Here, and do get in touch with Inside Housing as well, because we're really interested in telling those stories and kind of demonstrating how possible it is to change and to implement change. So that's one of the things we'll be doing over the next few months. And like I say, this week we'll be looking at a story about the building of accessible housing, which is one of the pledges. Thank you also, Hayley, for your work over the last year, and indeed in kind of pulling all of this together in the first place. I know it kind of sprang out of some conversations just over a year ago now, I think the results that have been really, really impressive, and yeah, it's great to hear from you. You know, the kind of reaction you've been getting as well. So I'd just like to bring things to a close with a massive thank you to you. Thanks to everybody who's watched this, and I would say do go and check out via our website or elsewhere what the pledges are. Have a think about whether you can kind of sign up to those commitments. Yeah, do get in touch with us and let us know how you're going. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Hayley. Cheers.
Thank you.